All right, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on all those bizarre and, let's be honest, sometimes terrifying things that happen while we're asleep. We're skipping the ghost stories and diving right into the science of what's really going on in your brain after you turn out the lights.
Yeah, that one. It's a chilling feeling, right? It's fueled folklore for centuries. But what if I told you that feeling isn't some supernatural visitor? What if it's just a predictable, even explainable glitch in your own biology? Okay, let's get into it.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with what your brain is actually up to all night, then we'll chart out your sleep journey, decode dreams and nightmares, bust some myths about sleepwalking, and finally get to the bottom of sleep paralysis. Then we'll wrap it all up with a super practical guide to help you master your own sleep. Okay, first things first, let's just bust a huge myth right now. When you fall asleep, your brain doesn't just switch off. Not even close. It's really just shifting gears from its daytime mode to a totally different and incredibly active nighttime mode.
Think of it like your brain's own personal maintenance crew clocking in for the night shift. Seriously, it's busy organizing the day's memories, deciding what to keep, and literally washing away all this metabolic junk that builds up while you're awake. This process, it's absolutely crucial for your health.
So to really understand all the weird stuff that can happen at night, you need a map. See, your sleep isn't just one long, flat state of unconsciousness. Nope. It's a journey you take through several different stages, and you repeat that journey in cycles all night long. Each one of these cycles lasts about 90 minutes, and it follows a pretty predictable path. You start by just drifting into light sleep, where any little noise can wake you up. Then you sink down into deep sleep, which is this really physically restorative stage where it's tough to wake you. And finally, you rise back up into REM sleep. That stands for rapid eye movement, and that's where most of our really vivid dreaming happens. Now here's what's so fascinating about this. Look at how your night is divvied up. You spend most of your time in that light sleep, but the really critical part is that your deep sleep is front-loaded, happening mostly in the first half of the night. Meanwhile, your REM sleep, your dream sleep, gets longer and longer in the second half. This is exactly why you're much more likely to remember a dream if you wake up in the morning. Okay, so we know that dreaming happens in REM sleep. But what in the world are dreams, and why do they sometimes take such a terrifying turn into nightmares? This might actually surprise you, but you were dreaming for about a quarter of your night last night, whether you remember it or not. The only reason you ever remember a dream is because you woke up in the middle of it. The dream was happening anyway. Your alarm clock just basically caught it in the act. So what flips the switch from a regular dream to a nightmare? Well, a lot of the time, it's our daytime habits bleeding over into the night. Stress and anxiety are, no surprise, huge factors. But look at this other stuff. Caffeine late in the day, alcohol before bed, even just being sleep-deprived, all of it can mess with your sleep cycles and make your dreams way more intense and scary. All right, let's tackle another nighttime mystery, sleepwalking. We see it in comedies all the time, but the reality can be a lot more complex, and in some cases, it can actually be a pretty serious warning sign. Okay, the most important thing to get here is when the sleepwalking is happening. Most of the time, what we think of as sleepwalking happens during that deep, non-dream sleep. The person's actions are pretty simple and they have zero memory of it. But REM behavior disorder is totally different. It happens during dream sleep, and the person is physically acting out their dream. We're talking punching, kicking, the whole shebang. And this right here is exactly why that distinction is so important. If you or someone you know is physically acting out their dreams, it is not normal sleepwalking. It means that safety switch in the brain that's supposed to paralyze you during dreams is broken. And that can be a very early sign of some neurological problems down the line. It's definitely something worth talking to a doctor about. And now we've arrived at the one that's probably the most frightening of all, sleep paralysis. That feeling of being awake but totally frozen, usually with this horrible sense that something sinister is in the room with you. Let's finally expose the so-called ghost in the machine. At its core, the definition is actually really simple. It's just a temporary moment where your mind is awake and conscious, but your body is still in sleep mode, so you can't move. Hey, remember that safety switch we were just talking about? Well, this paralysis, which is called atonia, is a totally normal and, frankly, essential feature of REM sleep. Your brain does it on purpose every single night to keep you from hurting yourself while you're dreaming about running a marathon or fighting off a dragon. This is the single most important thing to understand. Sleep paralysis is nothing more than a timing issue, a glitch. Your conscious brain just happens to boot up a split second before the paralysis off switch has been flipped. You wake up in your head, but your body is still stuck in that protective dream state.
And here's the most reassuring part of all. While it can feel like it lasts for an absolute eternity, the truth is, most episodes are over in less than 10 seconds. It's just a brief, totally harmless, though yes, terrifying, system lag.
So what about that terrifying presence, that shadow figure in the corner, the whispers you hear? Well, because you're waking up directly out of dream sleep, your dreaming mind is still partially active. Those hallucinations are simply dream characters and sounds spilling over into your waking reality. Your brain is just trying to make sense of why you're paralyzed, and it fills in the blanks with a scary story.
Okay, now that we've demystified all these strange experiences, let's talk about what you can actually do to make them less likely to happen. It really all comes down to building a solid foundation of good sleep habits, what experts call sleep hygiene.
This little checklist pretty much covers the big stuff. A consistent schedule is king. Your body clock loves routine. And notice the cutoff times for things like caffeine and naps? That's all about protecting your urge to sleep at night. And yeah, alcohol might make you feel sleepy at first, but it really messes up your sleep later on, especially that all-important REM sleep.
And this is such a powerful psychological trick. You have to train your brain to associate your bed with one thing, and one thing only: sleeping. So don't work in bed, don't eat in bed, don't scroll on your phone for hours in bed. When you get in, it's lights out. When you wake up, the day has started, and you get out. It really strengthens that mental connection.
So we've taken a journey through the architecture of your sleep, from its deepest valleys to its craziest peaks. We've seen that the monsters aren't actually under the bed. They're just little glitches in the incredible, complex machine that is your brain. So the real question is, now that you have the map, what's one thing you'll change to make your own nightly journey a little bit better?